South Jersey's play-by-play home for the Eagles,
Touchdown!
Sixers,
It's good!
and Flyers.
Oh, big save by Carter Hart.
97.3 ESPN, WENJ, WENJ HD, Millville, Atlantic City, a Town Square media station. This is Game Night with Josh Hennig on 97.3 ESPN and the free mobile app. Now, live from the Matt Black Kia Studios.
What a move!
Here's Josh Hennig.
What a weekend. What a weekend. It was great. I'm sad the football season's over, but the Super Bowl was great. The Sixers had a winning weekend. UFC 271. There's a lot of fireworks over there as well. Josh Hennig hanging out with you in the Matt Black Kia Studios here on 97.3 ESPN FM and the 97.3 ESPN mobile app, powered by First Bank of Sea City. You could join the conversation. Your thoughts on the sports weekend. Joel Embiid further cementing his MVP status over the weekend, plus Super Bowl 56. I'll get into all that and more coming up this hour on Game Night on 97.3 ESPN. Of course, you can join the conversation by DMing the show through the 97.3 ESPN mobile app, or you can text in at 609-403-0973. You know, watching the game last night was really, it was such an incredible chess match to watch that this is now multiple times in recent years we've seen coaches who are supposed to be these great offensive-minded guys have to go into playoff runs, go into Super Bowls, and hope their defenses win it for them. You can't deny there was probably a part of the game last night that was basically McVay and Taylor knowing each other. Okay? There's a part of the game last night that you watch some of the play calls, you watch some of the decision-making, and it felt like Taylor and McVay knew each other so well that they were kind of just leaning on the players on the field to get the job done. I thought that last night, the two biggest winners last night were McVay and Stafford. You know, Donald is going to the Hall of Fame no matter what. Yeah, he's got the ring on his hand. That was the one thing missing from his resume. But for Stafford and McVay, last night's game was so important. I remember when Doug Peterson won his Super Bowl ring. And part of what made the Eagles championship so valuable was that people forget that Doug wasn't the first guy. He wasn't the second guy. He wasn't even, in theory, the third guy they wanted. There was a lot of speculation that Doug was like the fourth guy, or even maybe the fifth guy to interview, depending on which report you believe. You know, they brought in Adam Gase. They brought in McAdoo. They interviewed Deuce Staley. They wanted to talk to Tom Coughlin. And they kind of just ended up with Doug Peterson. And so for Doug to win that ring a couple of years later, and for Howie and Jeffrey Lurie to win that ring, it was vindication for the organization. It was vindication for the coach. It was vindication for the GM. It was a stamp of, we know what we're doing. Now, obviously, a few years later, the happy relationship went away and everything went to basically just went downhill. But for right now, in this moment in time, Sean McVay redeemed himself. He said, look, when I first got to the Super Bowl, I was young and I lost to arguably the greatest coach of all time and the greatest quarterback in all time in Belichick and Brady. Now I'm 3 years older. Now I'm more experienced, and I wasn't going to lose to my former protege. And for Stafford, a guy who couldn't win a playoff game in Detroit, now had to win 4 straight playoff games and had to make some pretty big plays in the Super Bowl. Stafford does the most Stafford thing possible. Stafford, his entire career, was the dude who led teams back, game-winning drives, fourth quarter comebacks. What does he do in the Super Bowl? Same thing. It was also interesting to watch the players' reactions after the game. You know, Stafford was very like, look, I'm so happy to be here. This is very meaningful to me. Because Stafford knows for as well as he played in specific moments, his team bailed him out a couple times. He had some bad throws in the game. McVay didn't always call the cleanest game last night, but Aaron Donald and that defense really showed up. The star power by the end of the game was solely bright on the defense and not on the offense. And I always tell you guys, teams win championships, not individuals. The fact that we are now talking about the conversation I heard this morning, is Stafford now a Hall of Famer? Because he got that ring on his finger. The argument to me is so fraudulent because guys like Marino, guys like Warren Moon, there's all these guys in NFL history, Dan Fouts. These guys never won championships, but yet they're in the Hall of Fame. We have gotten to a point where we've become so irrational when it comes to these quarterbacks. Matthew Stafford was in a bad situation in Detroit, and he struggled to be successful. He got to Los Angeles in a better situation. He wins a championship. On the other side of the field, Joe Burrow's offensive line was atrocious, and he tried to do anything he could. He got sacked, 6-7 times last night in the game? By the way, that was one of the picks we gave you on Wednesday. It was on Friday night. We told you here on Game Night, take the over 3.5 sacks. I thought that was a pretty easy pick. Well, there you go. Donald, Miller, Floyd, those dudes were coming all night for Burrow. There's a part of me that thinks if you would have swapped places with Joe Burrow and Matthew Stafford, the Rams still would have won the game. And it's I'm not trying to diss Stafford. I'm not trying to, put down McVay. I'm not trying to say anything bad about any of those guys. But the moment Odell Beckham Jr. got injured and left that game, the Rams offense hit a wall. And they had to refigure out how they were going to score points. And it took them almost the entirety of the rest of the game to figure it out. The Rams defense won them that Super Bowl last night. And for every time that somebody will text in at 609-403-0973, every time everyone DMs the 97.3 ESPN mobile app powered by First Bank of Seattle City, and every time everyone ats me on Twitter at Josh Hennig, and you guys always tell me, you got to get the quarterback. You need the quarterback. Guess what? Last night, the quarterback was part of the win. He wasn't the reason why they won. He just wasn't. And I'm not downplaying Stafford as his career, but there is still a part of me that, for me, I look at Stafford, I see a little bit of Drew Bledsoe. I see a guy who's a phenomenal arm talent who had some great moments, but I don't think he's one of the greatest quarterbacks of his generation or the greatest of all time. He's a phenomenal arm talent, one of the most phenomenally physically gifted quarterbacks I've seen in the last 20 years. But if you're going to be there and deny that the Rams as a team won that game last night, I think you're in denial. And so every time we have the conversation, the rest of this offseason, well, is Jalen Hurts the guy? Should they draft a quarterback? Should they trade for a quarterback? I go back to the fact I've now seen 2 straight Super Bowls where the quarterback was literally at the behest and the mercy of his team. 2 years ago, Patrick Mahomes lost to the Bucs because his offensive line couldn't block me, Mike Gill, P. Thompson, and Billy Schwein if they had to. This year, Stafford still needed his defense to keep him in the game for him to even have a chance to get that final fourth quarter comeback game-winning drive. So for me, the quarterback is so important. The quarterback makes so much of a difference. I get that. But so does the team. The players around the quarterback are extremely important. And again, I'm not trying to rain on Stafford's parade. I understand there's a contingent of people out there who are going to say, look, this guy, Stafford, now that he has a ring, that was the thing that was missing from his career. He was the guy who was in the same category as the Andy Daltons and these other quarterbacks who couldn't get to the championship game, couldn't win a playoff game, etc. But Stafford has now done something that I think that is interesting to see how we measure it moving forward. You know, Nick Foles is a legend in Philadelphia, but he's not going to the Pro Football Hall of Fame. He'll be in the Eagles, Ring of Honor Hall of Fame, the Eagles Hall of Fame. He won't be the Pro Football Hall of Fame. We'll get to the Pro Football Hall of Fame class a little bit later in the show as well, because I was very happy when the announcement was made at NFL Honors. We get you a lot of chance to talk about it on Friday's show. Dick Vermeil, Sam Mills, Leroy Butler, Tony Baselli, just an incredible class. We'll get into all those guys a little bit later in the hour as well, plus some thoughts on UFC 271, the Sixers winning weekend, and more. But as always, I love to hear from you guys out there as well. Of course, you can DM the show through the 973 ESPN mobile app, thanks to First Bank of Seattle City. And of course, you can text him at 609-403-0973. Stephen Ventnor chimes in and says, "Hey, Josh, what do you think about Chris Morrison's report about Carson Wentz?" For those who didn't see it, if you go to 973ESPN.com or the 973 ESPN mobile app, the details from Mortensen are pretty eye-opening. And this was the second report that Mort and ESPN had over the weekend about quarterbacks. The first one was about Kyler Murray, and apparently he's a very immature guy. He's got a lot of angst issues, and if you believe other reports from people out of Oklahoma, apparently he's always been an immature guy. Well, and then the Wentz story comes back about 24 hours later, and I got to tell you guys, I'm a little surprised. I'm surprised that the Colts organization is this much ready to bail on Wentz. I think it has much to do with the money as anything else. I think that, let me paint it this way. Carson Wentz signed a contract that was to pay him as if he was a top half of the league QB for years to come. The whole point of the Wentz contract he signed with Philadelphia years ago, which was 3 years ago now, was the idea that they were paying him money to lock him up long term so they wouldn't have to pay him more money as he got older. That contract became an anchor on the Eagles. They found a way to parlay in the draft picks this year. They said, look, we're going to make Wentz the Colts' problem. We'll eat the money this year. Now the Colts got him. Well, the Colts apparently don't want him to be their problem either. And they have to get rid of him by basically the start of the new year, or he's a huge roster bonus that kicks in. I think it's more about money than it is about Wentz. I think if Wentz played like a top 5, top 8, maybe even a top 10 quarterback in this league, I think the Colts would be much more willing to swallow that money. But I think it's the fact that, as I mentioned to Mike Gill earlier in the Sports Bash, the Colts were undefeated this year when Jonathan Taylor rushed for over 100 yards. That final game, they leaned on Wentz. They got away from the one thing that got them there. So I have trouble reconciling, honestly, Stephen Ventnor. I really have trouble reconciling this idea that it's Carson Wentz's fault they didn't make the postseason, when literally you got to a point, you got to a threshold of making the postseason, but you ran away from the formula that got you there. You ran away from a guy who was for half the season in the conversation for NFL MVP, Jonathan Taylor. Half the year, people were making bets and talking about, can Jonathan Taylor be the first running back since Adrian Peterson to win league MVP? And then the final game of the year against the lowly Jacksonville Jaguars, what do? You turn around and you say, nah, Wentz, go save the day. Go win the game for us, Carson. It was such a strange decision by Frank Reich. And I have a lot of questions about Frank Reich moving forward. Because if they do get rid of Wentz, and Wentz is supposed to be his guy, right? Wentz is supposed to be, I'm the guy who can make Carson and Wentz work. And we heard for the whole offseason that it's going to work because Frank Reich's got his ear and he listens to Frank. And Wentz didn't have a bad year. 27 touchdowns, 7 interceptions, 62% completion percentage. Well, not a bad year. Wentz had the most passing yards that he has had in a season. This is his rookie year this past year. The most touchdowns since 2019. The fewest interceptions since 2019. The fewest fumbles lost in 3 years. Wentz finally turned it around a little bit. And he started 17 games. He wasn't injured off and on throughout the year. He found a way to play all year. But they went 9-8 because in the final game of the year, the Indianapolis Colts, a team that was running the ball almost the entire year, walked away with 94 rushing yards. I am having trouble reconciling Steve Ventnor. I want to get your town right, Steve. I want to call you from a different town, but Steve Ventnor asking about Carson Wentz. What I make Chris Morrison's report is that there must be something else going on with Carson Wentz that the Colts and the league is not telling us. There was a lot of rumor and innuendo and speculation when Wentz was in Philadelphia that he had trouble getting along with teammates. He wasn't this, this natural leader. He had trouble connecting with people. People couldn't relate to him. He was demonstrative. There was all these weird things about him that came out in the last few years with Wentz. And I have to wonder, did those ghosts, did those issues, did those problems follow him to Indianapolis? He was supposed to hit the reset button with his career and his future and everything. Stephen Ventnor, I got to ask, is the problem Wentz or is the problem the Colts? Because Frank Reich got away from what got them to that point. They could have gone to the postseason. It would have not been the Steelers. They could have been in the playoffs if they just would have leaned on Jonathan Taylor instead of Carson Wentz. And now they're saying, you know what? Wentz isn't good enough. That sounds very strange. Wentz is the 4th different quarterback in 4 years that Frank Reich has coached. Andrew Luck, Jacoby Brissett, Phillip Rivers, and now Carson Wentz. 4 different years, 4 different starting quarterbacks. I don't know if the problem is Wentz or if the problem is the Colts and Frank Reich. I just don't know. So my take of the quarter more in support is I think this is more about money than anything else. I'm looking at Carson Wentz's contract. It's $15 million dead money that they would be having to vacate. But it's a $6.29 million roster bonus that hits. It's a savings of $13 million. They have to eat the money basically for 1 year, and then they're done with all of his money moving forward. The roster bonus apparently seems to be a big deal for these teams. The Eagles wanted to get rid of him before the league year kicked in, so to pay the roster bonus then. He has $15 million guaranteed left on the contract. The rest of the money is non-guaranteed after next year. So if the Colts are really that willing to eat $15 million and for a savings of $6.29 million, there's got to be something going on with Wentz. Is there something going on with Reich? I'm curious. And consider what's going on in Arizona with Kyler Murray. If they can rectify that situation, if Aaron Rodgers leaves Green Bay, Tom Brady's retired, Tampa's got an opening, does Matt Ryan get traded? The Titans say they're committed to Ryan Tannehill. Believe what you want. The Deshaun Watson situation is still outstanding. We don't know what the Broncos are going to do with quarterback. Washington needs a quarterback. the 49ers are reportedly going to move on from Jimmy Garoppolo and enter the Trey Lance era. Do the Lions keep Jared Goff, or do they draft a quarterback? There's so many quarterback questions offseason. Does Kirk Cousins get traded? Does Baker Mayfield get let go? And Wentz is like right in the middle of this quarterback, circus, this merry-go-round. We could see musical chairs again this offseason. Football, it's absolutely fascinating how things happen. Real quick, I'll get to this comment from Jay in Egg Harbor. Says, if they move on from Wentz after last year, it would be about the money for something else, because he was pretty solid. It was a pretty solid year. I wouldn't blame the coaching more than Carson for them missing the playoffs. From Jay in Egg Harbor. Yeah, Jay, listen, I'm not saying you're wrong, all right? But before the Jags loss, I'm going to name you the teams that they lost to before the Jaguars lost, okay? Before they went to Jacksonville and lost. The Colts lost to the Raiders, playoff team. Tampa Bay, Tom Brady. Overtime to the Titans. They won the division. Ravens in overtime. That was when Lamar Jackson was healthier. But before that, they opened the season 0-3. You look at the games that they lost to Jacksonville, to Tennessee twice. They couldn't rush for 100 yards in any of those games. There was a point in time with this team when Jonathan Taylor got 100 yards, they were just unstoppable. Now I look back on it, I just have to wonder, Jay and EHT, Egg Harbor Township, and I appreciate you chiming in. I just ask, how much is Wentz and how much is the organization not trusting him? Or trying to trust him, or there's something that they're not telling us. That's all. I have to wonder, what are they not telling us? All right, I'm going to get to more of your guys' comments on the other side. I love the questions that are coming in about Kyler Murray and Aaron Rodgers. This is the time that we start speculating in the NFL offseason. Of course, we will do it all offseason right here with the Eagles and the entire NFL right here on Game Night with Josh Hennig here on 97.3 ESPN FM. You can keep texting in at 609-403-0973. You also DM the show and listen to the show on the 97.3 ESPN mobile app. Thanks to First Bank of CLC. Right now, 97.3ESPN.com and the 97.3 ESPN mobile app. A South Jersey high school graduate won a Super Bowl ring last night. Find out who that was and his exclusive company that he joins. Right over 97.3 ESPN.com and the 97.3 ESPN mobile app. More Game Night next. I'm Josh Hennig, hanging out with you in the Matt Black Kia studios.
It's Sixers basketball tomorrow on 97.3 ESPN with the voice of the 76ers, Tom McGinnis, calling all the exciting play-by-play action.
Difficult shot. It's up and good again. He's made 3 big shots down the stretch, and Embiid pours in the long two.
The Sixers host the Celtics. Coverage begins at 7:30. Philadelphia 76ers basketball on your radio home of the Sixers in South Jersey. 97.3 ESPN.
Hey, big guy. Simple credibility approval.
Listen, big guy, try this. Give them more cash for their clunker. That was my idea.
It's a President's Day sale all month. 0 down, 0.9% financing, 0 payments for 90 days, or $1,000 cash back. At Matt Black Kia, you can have it all. Plus, we want to get you out of that old car you hate. Come in today or visit us online and get the credit you deserve. 0.9% APR financing available for up to 60 months on new 2022 Kia Stinger, or get $1,000 cash back. Plus, Matt Black Kia in Toms River and Egg Harbor Township wants your trade, even if you owe thousands more than it's worth. Don't forget, you can't make a mistake with our 4-day love it or leave it return policy.
Gotta be a Matt Black Kid.
Offers with approved Tier 1 or 2 credit through Kia Motors Finance. Not all will qualify. 0% based on 1516 for 1,000 borrowed. 1,000 off all 22 Stingers. Go to mattblackkianj.com for complete details. Expires 3/4/2022. Matt Black Kia, 6211 on the Black Horse Pike, Egg Harbor Township, and now on Route 37 in Toms River.
Creamy nut butter makes it delightfully sweet. Roasted nuts make it perfectly salty. Get 2 great tastes in one delicious bar. Enjoy a Nature Valley sweet and salty nut bar today.
It's not easy being the one everyone counts on to keep the facility running, no matter the weather or supply chain hiccup. But we get you, Raymond in Buffalo, and Maria in Miami, Jules in Minneapolis, and Stan in Central Indiana, taking control of everything that's under your control. At Grainger, we're here for you with experienced branch staff at over 250 locations so you get the product you're looking for. Call, click Grainger.com, or just stop by. Grainger, for the ones who get it done.
TracFone Wireless knows that everyone needs an endless amount of data. So why pay for it? Get unlimited talk to text with 8 gigabytes of high-speed data for just $40 a month, with unlimited carryover data so you keep what you don't use on America's largest and most dependable networks with nationwide 5G. TracFone Wireless, now you're in control. Available at major retailers. 5G compatible device required. Actual availability, coverage, and speed may vary. See terms and conditions at TracFone.com.
Do you want the best for your car? Then fill up with premium at Circle K. Circle K Premium is our best fuel with double the cleaning detergent, protecting your engine from corrosion and damage so it can work at its best. And that, my friend, increases your mileage for more cha-ching in your pocket. Plus, when you fill up with premium at Circle K, you can save up to 20 cents per gallon. Offer valid Thursdays or Fridays at participating stores. For details, visit CircleK.com. Circle K. How convenient.
Hear ye, hear ye. Thanks for coming to the town square. First, I'd like to tell you about Steve. He's a plumber. I hear he does good work. Also, Tim. He's this new thing called a dentist. Oh, and Monica, she has a new vegan restaurant. I didn't even know that was a thing yet. Anyway, if you need those things, just wander around town and try to find them because the internet hasn't been invented yet, so I don't know.
This isn't the olden days. Now, word of mouth has gone online. At Town Square, South Jersey, we can show you how to harness the power of your existing word of mouth and amplify it online. Go to townsquarelocal.com for a free local customer analysis, where you can see how many local customers in South Jersey you could reach online. Visit townsquarelocal.com and be the Town Square today. That's townsquarelocal.com.
When was the last time everyone agreed on what's for dinner? You want ramen, they want pizza. Thankfully, there's something for everyone on the DoorDash app. For a limited time, get 50% off and 0 delivery fees on your first order of $15 or more when you download the DoorDash app and enter code ORDERNOW50. That's 50% off up to a $12 value and 0 delivery fees on your first order when you enter promo code ORDERNOW50. That's promo code ORDERNOW50. Subject to change, terms apply. Get more from your neighborhood.
I'm Serena Williams. You watch me live on TV.
And I'm the girl from that alien movie you watch on demand. Our worlds have been brought together thanks to DirecTV Stream.
Why are you whispering?
Because the alien will hear us.
Maybe let the alien know you can get DirecTV Stream with no annual contract.
He seems pretty excited by that, actually.
Introducing DirecTV Stream, the best of live TV and on demand with no annual contract. Get your TV together at directtv.com.
Requires high-speed internet and compatible device. Content varies by package and location. Restrictions apply.
With GMF financing excludes Corvette. Now till the end of the month, Bennett Chevrolet is paying a minimum $8,000 for any trade. No joke. That's $8,000 minimum for any rundown old piece of junk you can get to our lot. Don't let that clunker just sit around. Have it towed to Bennett and get at least $8,000 towards any pre-owned vehicle in stock. But this is a special offer this month only. Got a good trade? Bring it in. Because if we're paying a minimum $8,000 for junk, imagine how much more Bennett will pay for a good quality trade. And we'll buy your vehicle even if you don't buy ours. Plus, you won't find Bennett selling new cars over factory window sticker like other dealers. And if you're stuck in a lease, we can get you out early. Every make and model. No obligation, no pressure. Because our non-commissioned sales staff is paid on your satisfaction, not how much you spend. Now till the end of the month, Bennett Chevrolet is paying a minimum $8,000 for any trade. Find new roads at Bennett Chevy, Egg Harbor Township, and BennettChevy.com.
You're listening to Game Night with Josh Hennig on 97.3 ESPN and the free mobile app.
Josh Hennig back here on Game Night. By the way, the Super Bowl halftime show got some interesting reviews. It feels like that was one of those halftime shows where half the viewing audience loved it because they knew all the songs, and the other half of the audience hated it because they either don't like that kind of music, or because it, they just don't know the music. You know what I mean? Like, no offense to half the people watching, but some of you guys just weren't alive for some of that music. I'm right on the edge of that era, but I've always said, for me, when it comes to rap and hip hop, anybody who's listened to me here on 97.3 ESPN, I mean, I've been on the air thanks to Mike Gill allowing me to start on the weekends. Now I'm on daily. I've been on the air since 2016. I've always been a guy who, if it came to rap and hip hop, I'm always going to go back to, pre 2010 at the most. I prefer 80s and 90s. Most people know that that's kind of like more my wheelhouse. And, to see Dre and Snoop Dogg and all those folks up there, it definitely brings back memories of the things that, when I was younger, when I was high school, college, after college, a lot of that music was bumping in a lot of people's cars and a lot of people's parties and a lot of people's, whatever. And, for Eminem, I felt they could have given him a little more window. I felt like the halftime show could have actually been longer. I think that they took so long to get all the equipment and all the staging onto the field and off the field. They didn't have enough time to actually let them do more. I would have loved to see Eminem do more than just Lose Yourself. I think that they gave Dre plenty of room, though. I thought that was more about Dr. Dre. And, for those who don't know the relevance of Dr. Dre, whether you just don't like rap hip hop, or maybe you're too young to understand the cultural relevance, when Dre went out on his own, it was a big deal. When he left NWA, it was a huge moment in the 90s. And Dre has not been a guy who has going out and sought the limelight in the last 2 decades. He's a guy who spends a lot of time behind the scenes, serving as a producer and a guy who helps a lot of these artists behind the scenes. And so, last night seeing him get his shine was a big deal for a lot of people. And, to see how the other people look to him and respect him is really a part of that, the rap hip hop culture. And, a lot of the modern rap and hip hop, it doesn't really reflect what the 80s and 90s and the early 2000s were about. In many ways, Eminem is one of the last legitimate rappers. So much of today's modern music is honestly either ripping off somebody else from a song or a beat that happened 10, 20, 30 years ago, or it's just, recycled ideas. There's very little originality. There's very little, artist behind the music now. It's just somebody hands you a sheet of paper or hands you a beat and you just, hey, someone else did this for me. There was a time where people, dropped their own beats, made their own lyrics, produced their own cuts. And that's what Dre and Snoop Dogg and Mary J. Blige and, Eminem represent. Kendrick Lamar is a semi throwback to that era as well. And 50 Cent, I think that was a big surprise. I didn't expect to see 50 Cent. I gotta say, people are making fun of 50 Cent online. Y'all gotta chill with that. 50 Cent's not fat. 50 Cent's just got bigger muscles than you do, okay? That was not a fat man on the stage. Listen, 50 Cent may not be your cup of tea, but 50 Cent ain't fat. You guys, some of you people online, I saw some of the comments. People were trying to make fun of him. No. That was not fat. That was not fluffy. That was a dude who's been living in the gym, maybe a little too much, okay? 50 Cent looks like he's put on about 20 pounds of muscle since 2003. The last time he pulled the hanging upside down stunt. All right, let's get back to the football talk here on Game Night on 97.3 ESPN. Get some of your messages coming in. Of course, you can DM the show through the 97.3 ESPN mobile app. Thanks to First Bank of Seattle City. Text coming in over at 609-403-0973. Jay in Egg Harbor says, honestly, Josh, if Kyler Murray is on the move, I'd love to see him land on the Miami Dolphins next year. So here's the thing with Kyler Murray. I think that first of all, I don't know if Kyler is actually on the move or not. I have to wonder how much of what is going on with him in Arizona is him and how much of it is the organization. You know, I don't know if Cliff Kingsbury is a winning head coach in this league. This is now for Kyler Murray, 2 straight head coaches who are men who are a little closer to him in age. They are on the younger side of the coaching ranks. They are men who are young at heart. They're young in vibrancy. So I have to wonder, is Kyler Murray acting the way he is because his boss is maybe not as structured, maybe not as old school, maybe not as old at heart as maybe he needs a more of a disciplinarian. Maybe he needs a guy who's going to, push him a little harder. Right now I'm a little more than halfway through Walter Payton's autobiography, Sweetness, by Jeff Pearlman. And one of the things they talk about in that book is when Payton had Jack Pardee early in his career, Payton was not the Walter Payton that we all know later today. When he got to Chicago, he was kind of soft. He was a guy who was not happy to be playing in a colder environment. He didn't like, the coaching staff. He didn't like being in Chicago. And Pardee was hard on him. And he found a way to push Walter's buttons. He found a way to trigger him a little bit, for lack of a better term. And Pardee was like, hey, you want to play hard? You're getting benched. And Walter was like, no one's ever benching me again. He saw another player who was a lesser athlete than him have a great game on the field. He was saying, that should have been me. Those are my carries. Those are my touchdowns. And it made him angry. It made him tougher. And when he came back the next year and he almost broke O.J. Simpson's record, he played with a ferocity that he carried for the next decade with Chicago in a Bears uniform. And he has said on and off the record to Walter that, look, if it wasn't for Jack Pardee being hard on me, if it wasn't for, the tough love, if it wasn't for them, holding me to a certain standard, I may have never become who I was, because when I got here, I didn't have that right mentality. I have to wonder with Kyler Murray, would he be better off with a tougher minded coach? You look around the league, there's so many of these young coaches now. There's so many of these Mike McDaniel is now down with Miami, Cliff Kingsbury in Arizona, Sean McVay in Los Angeles, Nathaniel Hackett in Denver. You have, who is guys being hired? Kevin O'Connell is being hired by the Vikings. There's a part of me that wonders, does Kyler Murray need a Dan Campbell, Mike Tomlin kind of head coach? Does he need a guy who's going to maybe be a little more structured and hard and push him more and force him to be the best he can be? Is he really getting the best coaching possible in Arizona? So I say to Jay in Egg Harbor Township, I know why you like the idea of Kyler going to Miami, because Tua has been underwhelming. And, Mike McDaniels, he looks like a guy who, because of his own coaching background, that he could maybe amplify some of Kyler's abilities. But I'm really wondering, is the young coach the way to go? Would he be better off with, like, for example, a Matt Rule, a Ron Rivera in Washington, one of these older coaches who can kind of take him aside and be like, listen, young man, I understand where you've been. I understand that what you've gone through and what you've done in your career has not been holding you to the level that I'm going to hold you to, but I'm not one of these coaches who's just going to let you do whatever you want. I want to bring out greatness in you. And if I got to force it to come out of you, it's sink or swim time, buddy. I think Kyler's immaturity in part is a byproduct of the environment he's been in. I think that Lincoln Riley at Oklahoma and now Cliff Kingsbury in Arizona, don't have the hardened backgrounds that are maybe necessary to bring out the best in Kyler Murray. I think Kyler Murray might be better off with a more veteran, disciplined kind of coach. A guy like Ron Rivera could turn to Kyler Murray and like, look, young man, I played in the NFL. When I tell you things should be done a certain way, or you got to carry yourself a certain way, I'm telling you from experience. I'm telling you because I got a ring on my finger. I'm telling you because I've taken a team to the Super Bowl. I'm telling you from experience. Or a guy, for example, like Mike Tomlin's like, look, I've been to multiple Super Bowls. I have rings on my finger. I've won championships. I've been to the game and I've won, and I've been to the big game and I lost. I know what it takes more than you do, what it means to be successful in this league. Maybe that's a better coach for him. Maybe the problem is the coach in Arizona. Text board is open as always, 609-403-0973. You can DM the show as well through the 973 ESPN mobile app. Thanks to First Bank of Seattle City. Josh Hennig hanging out with you on game night in the Matt Blatt Kia studios. Another message coming in says, I know you probably would never do it because of Brett Favre, but I'd love to see Aaron Rodgers land in Minnesota. I think the Aaron Rodgers is going to go one of three ways. I don't have any inside information. I have no special insight compared to anybody else. I think based on Rodgers, who he is and his background and all that kind of stuff, I think Rodgers is going to either stay in Green Bay, go to an AFC team, or retire. The reason why I think it's one of those three is because, one, I think Green Bay doesn't want the Favre situation to repeat itself. And I think, like you said, I don't think Rodgers wants to follow in Favre's footsteps. I think that Rodgers wants to blaze his own trail. I think he looks at guys like Peyton Manning and Tom Brady and says, I can do what they did. I can go to another team and win a ring with another team and be a champion elsewhere. I don't have to stay in one team forever. I think that's one part of his decision. I think Rodgers has enough of a healthy ego that he doesn't want to be like Favre. He wants to be better than Favre. So I think he looks at what Brady and Manning did and says, I can do what they did. But there's another part of him that loves being in Green Bay. And you heard his speech on Thursday Night NFL Honors. He said, look, I'm grateful to Matt LaFleur. I'm grateful to the Packers organization. I'm grateful to my teammates. I didn't sound like a guy that was ready to run away from Green Bay anytime soon. It sounded like a guy who was conflicted. It sounded like a guy to me that doesn't know for sure what he wants to do. So I look at Rodgers and I say, this might be a guy who just kind of looks at a situation and says, you know what? Can I run it back one more time in Green Bay? Or do I want to move on? And that's where the retirement thing comes in. What else does Rodgers really want to do? Does Rodgers want to be like Brady and play longer? Does he want to play until his body breaks down like Manning did? Does he want to be like Favre and just, play until there's no bullets left in the chamber? I don't know what Rodgers really wants. And I don't know if Rodgers really knows what he wants. I think there's a possibility that Rodgers either stays in Green Bay, goes to an AFC team like the Broncos or somebody else, or he retires. And I think all three are very strong possibilities. And if I was to set the odds, I would say it's probably 33% across. I would say it's there's a 33% chance any one of those three can happen right now. And I don't have any special information. I'm just going based on what he said, what I've observed. But you're right, Texter. I don't think that Rodgers is going to Minnesota like Favre did. Obviously, we'd all love to see what he would do with Justin Jefferson and Adam Thielen and Dalvin Cook and that team up there. But I think there's a part of Rodgers that looks around and says, what do I really want? Like, what do I really want for my career? Do I really love the work and the effort that puts into play football? Because of the combination of the COVID protocols and the lack of off-season training and practices and the little bit less of a wear and tear on his body in the off-season, I think has elongated his mind and his body for football after having some injuries over the previous 6 years before the last 2 years when he won MVP. You have to wonder, does Rodgers really want to keep doing this? It's going to be an interesting offseason with the quarterbacks. Obviously, there are still those in Philadelphia who don't believe in Jalen Hurts. Washington needs a quarterback. Carolina needs a quarterback. What do the Falcons do with Matt Ryan? Tampa needs a quarterback. Miami, do they keep to it? Do they move on? Deshaun Watson, what's going on in Houston? You have the situation with Kyler Murray to Arizona. There's still the speculative rumors out there about Russell Wilson's future. Some people are wondering what was he talking to Roger Goodell about up there in the press, in the VIP box, I should say, at the Super Bowl. There's a lot of pictures of them floating around with Russell with hand over his mouth, trying to so people can read his lips. Goodell didn't seem too concerned about that. Maybe Goodell doesn't have anything good, interesting to say. I don't know, but there's a lot of speculation of the quarterbacks. Denver obviously is a big question mark. Kirk Cousins in Minnesota, Baker Mayfield over in Cleveland, Indianapolis. They move on from Wentz. What are they doing? Where does Jimmy Garoppolo go? What did the Steelers do at quarterback? It's going to be an interesting offseason, that's for sure. All right, coming up next, we'll check out more of your messages on the other side, as well as wrap up the sports weekend. Josh Hennig hanging out with you in the Matt Blatt Kia Studios on 97.3 ESPN FM and the 97.3 ESPN mobile app. It's free thanks to First Bank of Seattle City. Download it now for all your latest on the Eagles, Sixers, Flyers, Phillies, whenever they return, as well as high school sports in South Jersey, all there on 97.3 ESPN.com and the 97.3 ESPN mobile app.
Big Monday on ESPN Radio. Oklahoma State heads to Allen Fieldhouse to face the 8th-ranked Kansas Jayhawks.
Out to Abaji, run out, one hand flush.
The college basketball season continues tonight, only on 97.3 ESPN. Coverage begins at 8:30.
It's Truck Month, all month at Matt Blatt Nissan.
Oh, yeah, it's on at Matt Blatt Nissan.
It's on at Matt Blatt Nissan. New trucks arriving every day and all month. Just because you don't see it on the lot doesn't mean you can't be driving it home tomorrow. $5,000 off Titans, or lease the all-new 2022 Nissan Frontier S 4x4 King Cab. Just $279 per month with zero security deposit. Plus, AJ, the trade man, needs more trades. Get more for your trade and drive home a brand new Nissan with zero down and pay 0% interest on every new Nissan in stock. And drive away with peace of mind, because only Matt Blatt Nissan has a 4-day love it or leave it return policy. Only at MattBlattNissan.com. Negative equity will be refinanced into new vehicle, 36-month, 10,000-mile pre-year lease, plus tax tag and $479 doc fee. Offers can't be combined. Call 877-289-6670 or go to MattBlattNissan.com for complete details. Offer ends 3/6/2022. It's on at Matt Blatt Nissan. A Black Horse Pike, Egg Harbor Township.
TracFone Wireless knows that everyone needs an endless amount of data. So why pay for it? Get unlimited talk to text with 8 gigabytes of high-speed data for just $40 a month, with unlimited carryover data so you keep what you don't use on America's largest and most dependable networks with nationwide 5G. TracFone Wireless, now you're in control. Available at major retailers. 5G compatible device required. Actual availability, coverage, and speed may vary. See terms and conditions at TracFone.com.
Hey, team, it's a full house. We got to pick up the pace.
At Hank's Restaurant, the line goes around the block.
Is this for 12? Okay, I need the truffle oil drizzle.
What he needs is another line cook.
Oh, man. Are the quail breasts still in the sous vide? Dave, can you keep an eye on that, please?
Indeed can help him hire great people fast.
I need Indeed.
Indeed you do. Instant Match instantly connects you with quality candidates whose resumes on Indeed match your sponsored job description. Visit Indeed.com/credit and get $75 towards your first sponsored job. Terms and conditions apply.
Do you want the best for your car? Then fill up with premium at Circle K. Circle K Premium is our best fuel with double the cleaning detergent, protecting your engine from corrosion and damage so it can work at its best. And that, my friend, increases your mileage for more cha-ching in your pocket. Plus, when you fill up with premium at Circle K, you can save up to 20 cents per gallon. Offer valid Thursdays or Fridays at participating stores. For details, visit CircleK.com. Circle K. How convenient.
DQ presents. Picture this. A DQ red velvet Cupid cake made for two. This heart-shaped cake is at the center of your perfect date night. There's a layer of red velvet cake blizzard, delicious red velvety cake pieces and cream cheese icing. Wait, what's that? World-famous DQ soft serve. Your Valentine is speechless. It's a DQ Valentine's Day happily ever after. Moments like these are exactly why the DQ Cupid cake exists. DQ. Happy tastes good.
You are an electric vehicle. It's true. Electricity powers your heart.
Want to feel your heartbeat faster? Drive an electric car. Made by Nissan, a company whose EVs have gone 5 billion miles. Built for every driveway, every highway, and every speedway. And where the loudest sound is the beat of your electric heart. Nissan. Electric cars for electric drivers. 5 billion miles driven by Leaf owners globally since 2010.
Ugh, my stomach.
Don't worry, I've got you covered.
When you have nausea, heartburn, indigestion, upset stomach, diarrhea.
What's that?
It's Pepto-Bismol Chews.
Pepto-Bismols in a chew?
Yeah, they taste great and provide fast relief. And you can always have Pepto-Bismol handy.
Ooh, let me try it.
Try Pepto-Bismol Chews for fast relief.
Nausea, heartburn, indigestion, upset stomach, diarrhea.
Use as directed. Keep out of reach of children.
Goodbye, bench press. Adios, squat rack. Fare thee well, kettlebell.
Hey, Kellen, need a spot?
No, Jake from State Farm. I'm just saying goodbye to my pricey gym membership.
What? Don't give up what you love. State Farm has options like insuring your home and ride with great rates on both.
Nice. Hey, can I buy you a protein shake or a granola bar? Or
For surprisingly great rates, like a good neighbor, State Farm is there. Call or go to statefarm.com for a quote today.
This is your Wendy's wake-up call. Start your day with a better breakfast and get a free drink with any of our morning-making breakfast sandwiches. That's your favorite drink in a Wendy's cup, free. Fresh brewed coffee, free. Diet Coke, free. Vanilla Frosty-Chino, that's cold brew plus Frosty Creamer plus free. So don't sleep on this deal. Get any size drink in a Wendy's cup free when you buy any breakfast sandwich. Choose wisely. Choose Wendy's.
Limited time only at participating Wendy's. On the card only. Offer valid upon request on lowest price qualifying item. Not valid for third-party delivery.
Now, more Game Night with Josh Hennig on 97.3 ESPN and the free mobile app.
Before we get out of here on Game Night on 97.3 ESPN, excuse me. We'll talk more Sixers tomorrow night. Excuse me. That was bad timing there. Sixers tomorrow night. Brian Toporek from the NBA podcast, Forbes Sports, NBA. Right, we'll talk more about the Sixers and the aftermath of the James Harden deal tomorrow night on Game Night on 97.3 ESPN. A lot of wins this weekend over on Game Night here. We gave you the Super Bowl under 48.5. That hit. We told you any position, not a quarterback to win MVP, plus 225. We told you Rams over on the sacks, 3.5. We told you Andre Arlovsky money line plus Louis Tuivasa to end in a knockout TKO parlay. We also gave you the Phillips Arlovsky plus 107 parlay. So we gave you some winners over the weekend. I'm watching UFC 271, and I got to tell you guys, I had two major takeaways. One, the 185-pound division is the most interesting division, I think, in the entire UFC. It's not the most competitive. It's the most interesting because with Cannonier's powerful win over Brunson on Saturday night, combined with Adesanya's decision win over Whitaker, I think it's very obvious what the next fight is. The problem is that for Adesanya, he needs to get back to winning in a stylish manner, because for the casual fan, I'm observing people at the establishment I was at on Saturday night and people online. I think people are starting to lose a little interest in him. I think some of the shine on Adesanya's star is wearing a little bit. I don't know if he can fix that. I don't know if he needs to do something different, or maybe Whitaker is just that tough of a matchup. But the UFC gave him a huge contract. Does he earn it? We'll find out. I'm Josh Hennig. This is Game Night. Catch you tomorrow.